A big issue that I find myself constantly finding new ways to deal with is the constant emergencies, right? Especially when it comes to, as our household is very prone to, is the constant medical emergencies. What we deal with is obviously is a lot more complex than most family households. Unless you have a child with a disability or you're caring for a parent or a loved one that is really sick and needs constant care, you wouldn't be too familiar with the constant craziness of a household with nonstop emergency care or emergency needs. So hello everyone, and welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you are a seasoned subscriber. If you are new to my channel, I do videos all about fashion and accessories on Mondays as a hobby. And then on Fridays, I do videos all about TSC and FSGS and all the fun stuff that comes with it, or not. So if you're interested in either topic, please hit the little subscribe button, hit the little bell so you can be notified on all things new, on all things uploaded by me, on new things uploaded by me. I'll get there. Anyway, thank you so much for joining, and let's get started. So having two kids or two daughters with a disability, it tends to become extremely crazy here. And when I say crazy, I mean it's nonstop. You could be sitting down watching a movie and all of a sudden you have to rush into the emergency because one of your kids are not feeling well. The biggest challenges with that is that you really need to manage your time properly, and that you're well aware of there's certain circumstances where it will lead you to have to deal with something critical, whether it's 5 in the morning, 2 in the morning, or 3 in the afternoon. So one way that we're able to combat this is the ability to work from home. I know not everybody has that luxury, obviously, but these are things that in today's industry, there is a lot more availability out there in the market. So definitely looking for a position that, or a role that you can get up and go whenever you need to. It's vital, especially when you're caring for a child or a loved one with a disability. Or it's really important, especially when you're caring for someone that is really sick and needs constant care, but also gives you the flexibility of being able to work, still earn an income, and have a good insurance so that you can care for that loved one. So what I find myself being able to do is work around my schedule, especially when I need to now my youngest, my oldest, obviously she's on her way. She's on her own and she's doing her own thing. But when it comes to children, you need to be able, especially young children, you need to be able to set up a schedule so that you're able to take them to their doctor appointments. And in the case of TSC, or tuberous sclerosis complex, it's really complex or complicated because they have so many. Your child's going to have a lot of specialists that they have to be seen by. So for example, my youngest daughter's she's getting her MRI, or her every 6 months she gets an MRI done, has to check her SAGA in her brain, which is a tumor that was pretty large and is slowly shrinking because of the everolimus that she's on, which is a protein inhibitor. So what it does, it shrinks the brain tumor. So she's constantly getting monitored to make sure that it's still effective and it's working the way it should be. So with that being said, is that she has to go in every 6 months to get an MRI. So I have to be able to work around her schedule and make sure that I can take her to those different doctor's appointments when she needs them. Another really important doctor appointment that she needs to be seen is her nephrologist. So she has to be seen once a year or every 6 months, depending on the progression, right? If she's doing good, she can go every year. If she's not, then she needs to be monitored more constant. For many of mothers with kids with disabilities or a loved one with disability, you have to go more often, right? So 3 to 6 months is on the average. Make sure that they're progressing in the positive way. Make sure that they're doing well. And if they're not, they need to be able to catch that soon enough, or they need to be able to catch it quickly, so that way they can, whether it's changing medication or they need a medical procedure, quick, right? So again, it goes back to having that flexibility in your job. FMLA is slightly different. You can utilize it to protect your job should you have to take or care for care for a loved one. And they usually, it's very, the process with that obviously is a little bit more complex. You got to work with your HR department to get the permission to get that FMLA approved. You also have to work with whoever company they work with directly, so that you can make sure that you're being protected should you need to take that time off for your loved one. Now, when it comes to FMLA, unfortunately, it's not, you don't get paid unless you have some type of PTO, or you have some time that you could take off. You have personal time, or you have vacation time that you can take off to cover you that cost should you need to take off. See, when it comes to taking those 12 weeks of FMLA, you also have to make sure that you've worked at least 1,250 hours, and or obviously within a 12-month period. So you have to work at least 12 months in your current position and at least work 1,250 hours. So just stuff to think about if you do need to take some time off to care for your loved one. Okay. Now, another thing that we've really been able to do, at least in our household, is kind of try to balance our work life. And it's really important, because when you are working so much, and then once you're done working, you have to just care for you have to just care for your loved one. It's really important to be able to take some time off. So the premise of this whole thing is to identify ways to make things a little bit more functional within your life and your household. Obviously, you want to make sure that you reach out to your family members. If you don't have a family member, reach out to whether it's a possible counselor. Ask questions about, do you know of any groups that help support families that are or parents, loved ones, whoever it is, that are dealing with these kind of emergencies constantly. Reach out for support. Look for groups that this is something that they do on a consistent basis. Look for Facebook groups that will help you identify groups are in a similar circumstance as yourself, and try to find ways to maybe even build a community around that, right, where you can support each other. And I think it's really important to be able to reach out to people that are in that same situation, because they tend to understand what's going on. Another thing that I've done is another thing that I've done personally is found a hobby, something that I enjoy doing, which I've discussed in some of my other videos. I started to dabble in fashion and accessories and stuff that I enjoy doing. And there's so many things that you can find that you will enjoy doing yourself, whether it's dancing, finding a group that goes out to work out together, travel. I mean, if you have the finances, obviously, to do these things, I would recommend them. Now, if you don't, there's also other things that you can do that are a lot more affordable, where you don't have to dish out the money, right? A walk in the park, a walk on the beach, just going out to the park, enjoying the view, just taking in some fresh air with a friend or without a friend on your own. It's up to you. If you're alone or if you're not, it doesn't really matter, but you need to take yourself out of that situation once in a while. If you're constantly dealing with stress over and over and over again, you're never going to find any peace in your life. And then it becomes really obvious that then it becomes overwhelming to the point that you cannot take it, and you can risk yourself getting unhealthy, meaning that you can have a stroke, meaning that you can get really high blood pressure, or which can lead to a stroke. You can't put yourself in a situation where you can put yourself at risk, and if that family member is dependent on you, then it becomes really difficult to manage. It's even a worst case scenario, right? Where if you're not able to work or care for your family member, who's going to maintain the household? So it's really important to find your peace. Make sure that you remain healthy enough, not only to care for your family member, but to also keep yourself out of those situations where it becomes such a heavy burden on the family, where, though I know it's difficult to manage all the craziness that's going on, trust me when I tell you, I get it. I'm able to manage my stress a lot better than most people, When I say that, I mean, what I mean by that is I'm able to see the situation for what it is. I don't burden myself with the inability to see beyond that aspect, right? I'm not sitting there saying, oh man, I have the worst life ever. Oh my, this is difficult. I know that it's difficult, but I also understand that there's a reason why it's me and not the next person. And I take it as a challenge, not as a burden. I hope that makes sense to you. Because if I take it as a burden, the burden will pile up to a point where I won't be able to take it anymore. I take it as an opportunity where maybe I'm not doing something right, and how can I improve upon this so that I can make my situation a little bit easier to manage or maintain. So it's really important to kind of find that scenario in your position or in your life. Find that person or find somebody that can help you out. Find that group, find a counselor, find your peace, whether it's when your friend or find your peace so that when your loved one is sleeping and resting, you go and do some yoga in your house. You take some time to do some jogging. You take some time to just go shopping if you want to. Take some downtime. Ask for help from your family members. Ask for help for some groups. Reach out. Don't sit there and wallow in your stress and your pain, because you're going to get yourself sick and you're not going to be able to think clearly. You're not going to be able to think clearly when your loved one needs you most. And if you're sick, the situation can just spiral out of control. Especially, obviously, if you don't have someone else to support you in the household. Having 2 daughters with disabilities is not easy. It never will be. It never is. And I'd be lying to you if I said it was. You know, one week we could be good, and then the next week I could have 2 girls in the hospital at the same time, one on one floor and one on the other. That was our life. It was a roller coaster for many, many years. Now it's a little quieter because my oldest recently got her 2nd kidney transplant, and my youngest has been pretty stable. But at one point, my youngest was having seizures and my oldest was on dialysis. So I understand, I get it. But you can get through this. You just have to think outside the box and step outside of your comfort zone. The inability to get out of that zone is what's hurting you. You see the world for what it is, not what it can be. So it's just kind of think back. When I think back of my scenario where I once was, I thought the world was completely against me. I'm like, why would I be the one with the 2 girls with disabilities while everyone else has healthy kids and everything? And then I'm thinking to myself, what am I thinking? What am I doing, right? I'm wallowing in my pity, and that's pathetic. I gotta get out of that zone. So what I started to do was recognize the fact that there's so many people with way worse scenarios or situations that we are in. So just think a little bit outside the box. Don't do everything the same way over and over again, expecting a different result, because that will drive you insane. You can do this. You know, you can get to a better place. You just have to give yourself a few breaks at a time. Trust me, if I did it, you can. It's nothing harder than a parent watching their child be sick and feel helpless. But I'm glad I never gave up on myself, because no matter what, I'm always going to be there for them. And I know you will be there for your loved one. So thank you again so much for joining me on my video. Again, I hope you're having an amazing day. Please leave your comments, sharing your stories. Let me know what you're dealing with. And then let me know what you're dealing with. If you have any input, I'd be more than happy to hear. And thank you so much again for joining. Don't forget to please subscribe, hit the little bell so you can be notified on all of my latest videos. And don't forget to give yourself some peace. Okay? You deserve it. And don't ever, ever forget to focus through and evolve. Ciao.